What's poppin', fam? Welcome to Don't Touch My Mindset, a podcast that is designed to uplift, inspire, and motivate you, and most importantly, share tools to help you protect that mindset. Yo, we are back. Hello. I'm your host, Jay Chase, and I am excited. I am thrilled to be here. Welcome back. Happy Sunday. This is a Don't Touch My Mindset Pivotal Moments edition, and we got an amazing guest for you. Yo, this is actually the first Pivotal Moments I ever recorded. First person I ever interviewed. Quick story time. When I was a kid, there was this journalist named Steve Hartman. I think he was on CBS, but he had a segment called Everyone Has a Story, and I loved it. I was glued to the TV every time that man was on talking about everybody has a story. What he'd do is throw a dart at a map, and whatever location that dart landed on, he would travel there. And when he got there, he would open up the phone book, random page, and put his finger down and call the person and ask them, hey, can I do a story on you? Low key, that's what inspired me to do Pivotal Moments. It's just been a childhood dream of mine, but you can tell that from this interview and the excitement I have and the enthusiasm. And our guest today is a mindset peak performance coach from across the pond. Once again, we're going worldwide, but across the pond, Matt Young. Phenomenal story, phenomenal gentleman. You can find him on all the IG, on IG. You can find him on Facebook. Look up his business. Just pay attention to the detail, because the way that this man bounces back, resiliency, the things that he went through, phenomenal. So with further ado, if this is your first time here, please press that follow button, that subscribe button, whatever it may be, wherever you're listening at. Rate, review. If anything resonates from this episode, share with a friend. It all helps the show grow. I sincerely and wholeheartedly want to say thank you for rocking with me. Follow the show. Hit us up on IG. Tell us what you want to know about. We are back on Wednesday with a brand new episode, a brand new mindset. Until then, here is Matt Young's Pivotal Moment. I love you guys. We're all good. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm feeling inspired. Matt Young is with us on the show, and he is a mindset coach that he focuses on high performance, I believe. This is actually like the first conversation Matt and I are having. So I'm excited. Matt, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you're about, brother. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, of course. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on. I greatly appreciate your time. So as you said, my name is Matt Young. I'm a peak performance mindset coach, and I'm from London. So that's where I operate my work from. I suppose a little bit about my backstory is that initially I spent 8 years as a professional footballer. So I was professional soccer player for you. I was 8 years as a professional there. And then when that took me into part-time a couple of years ago, I always knew that I was fascinated with the mind. I was fascinated with psychology, how the mind works, what makes people so successful, what they do, what makes the difference in people's lives. These types of questions always used to get to me. And I always knew that after my football career, the influence that I can have on people's lives, I knew was infinite. And I knew that this was a route that I was going to go down. And just before COVID, so a year or so before COVID, my football career went into a part-time, so not a full-time job as it had been for the previous 8 years. And I found myself at a little bit of a crossroads. And then within that crossroads, it was a case of, okay, what are we going to do here? And there was a bit of time of teething periods and finding out different things about myself and learning along the way, which I'll be happy to go into.
Yes, absolutely.
Essentially, just before COVID, maybe 6 months before COVID, I set up my business called Made in the Mind. Now, very aptly called Made in the Mind, because that is what I believe everything is, made in the mind. And what I mean by that is all of our realities, all of our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, everything is created up here in your mind. And things like that, it's been something that has really accelerated the growth of Made in the Mind. And now I'm very, very thankful that I work with incredible people, individuals. I work with businesses, multinational companies, Premier League football clubs. So it's been a case of a very fast learning process, but one that's been incredibly powerful and incredibly impactful, which has been great.
Man, that is awesome. So, first question, let's just dive into it. One, I completely agree with that. And I love the way that you stated that everything's made in the mind. I believe life is 100% mindset. It's not about the situation. It's about how you approach the situation and how you respond to it. So I love that. So you said right before COVID. So you've been doing this for probably a year, 2 years almost now?
No, so I officially, I say quote, set up the business in September 2019. However, through 2019 and the early stages of 2019, I was still working on a consultancy basis and working with things, but just not under the Made in the Mind brand, if you like. So yeah, I suppose we're nearly 2.5, 3 years, I suppose, which has been great. But I mean, the growth has been exponential, which has been great, because for me, the growth is only replicated in the impact that I'm having, and the impact that I'm having has been great, and it continues to go like that. So long may that continue.
Man, that is awesome. So that's exciting for me, because that's something I'm looking into getting into. So that's awesome. So that where you are now and what you're doing, the growth and all of that, what triggered it? What, obviously, you went to part-time being a soccer or football player. What happened what mindset did you fall into, is a better way of asking, when you found out that, or made the choice, or went to part-time football? Where was your mind at?
I mean, honestly, that wasn't, as we call it, my pivotal moment.
Okay.
My pivotal moment, I would say, happened, and I speak about this a lot in my seminars and in my talks, maybe happened 5 to 6 years previous. And I'll be happy to discuss this in detail if you wish. And
yes, dive, brother, dive.
Yeah, I call it the 5 days that changed my life, because it did. And what I mean is that I was at the age of, I was 21 years of age at the time, professional footballer, which was great. And I just spent some time in the north of England, playing for a team in the north of England, and everything was great. I had just been I was in my first serious relationship, and we was together, and I was staying at her house. And over the course of 5 days, everything that I felt like I knew was ripped out, and everything changed. Now, to go into a little bit more detail with that, I mean, for yourself or for anyone listening, we all know what a first relationship, I suppose, is like. We're head over heels and that sort of thing, and I was no different. And I remember it so vividly. So on the Wednesday evening, and this is where the 5 days started. The Wednesday evening, I played a football match, played really well, went back to the home that we were sharing at the time, and got into bed. And I just remember an energy and a feeling in the room that I wouldn't be able to do justice by talking about it, but it was just an energy that I felt was off in the room. And the Thursday morning, the next day, the second day, I woke up, and she said, long story short, she essentially broke up with me. Now, this was a relationship that I believed at the time was my relation, was going to be it. Wow. I was done. That was it, and everything else. And looking back now, I can see that, we all were, I suppose, naive, and it completely floored me. I hit rock bottom. And previous to this, I should say, I had some sort of, I suppose, family relationship issues with my own parent and things like that that caused an effect in this. But I mean, that was a Thursday that really rocked me. And I remember in the north of England, if anyone's ever been to the Lake District, it's a beautiful place. And I was walking around this particular lake and I was done. I mean, I have no sort of shame in saying that I didn't see the point in anything. I didn't see the point in continuing with football, with anything really. And it was a real moment for me that really everything that had gone on in the past 5-6 years in my personal life with one of my parents and things that had gone on in my life, it had really brought a culmination to this point. Whereas 24 hours earlier I was on top of the world, and then 24 hours later that was it for me. And as I say, I remember calling my dad and having a conversation with him and just sort of bursting out crying and saying, what's the point? Like, what is the point? And thankfully, and I really thank for this, that I had a close friend who lived in the Lake District at the time, and my dad was able to get in contact with him. And that Thursday evening, he come and saw me, and we had a conversation. The Friday, I went into train at the new club where I was going to sign my professional contract at. Mind was completely away with it and everything. Went into train. Saturday we had a match, and to this day it is the worst football match I've ever played. And considering on the Saturday they had offered me this sort of contract that I saw, by the Saturday after the game I was like, you know what, I haven't played well, but you know what, come Monday I can start afresh here. Like, trying to bring myself back around, trying to bring my mindset back around, trying to bring everything back around. And the Monday come back around, I went in to the office to sign my contract. And as I sat down in front of him, I remember it so clearly, he said, Matt, I don't know any way to say this, but the contract isn't there for you anymore. We're not going to give you this professional deal.
Wow.
I remember being so shocked. Like, imagine in any other walk of life, you've turned up to actually start your first day of a new job, sign your official contract, and then him revoking it in front of you. I was like, but it's here. Like, I've got it here to sign. Like, you've signed at your end. He's like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. If you sign that contract, then you're going to be here, but you'll never play football for this club. You'll never be part of this club. And as I say, these were the I call it the 5 days that changed my life, because at the age of 21, since the age of 5, my whole identity was a professional footballer. And my whole life was built around football and ultimately having this family vision. And within 5 days, that had been completely ripped out, completely obliterated and stamped on. And I remember going home back to Essex in England, near London, where I grew up. And I remember just being there for, I suppose it was a couple of days and weeks, maybe now. It's a bit of a blur, that I just did not do anything. And my mindset was, because up until this time, it's worth me saying that I was a very level-headed, disciplined, committed, mindset was a big thing of mine. And this just absolutely rocked me to my core. And as I say, for these couple of days and weeks, I went back to my family home in Essex and there was nothing. And the guy that I'm so thankful for, that once that come to see me on that Friday evening in the Lake District, he phoned me up and just checked on how I was doing. I said, no, you know what, I'm not good. I'm really not good. I don't know what I'm going to do. Where's the meaning? I have no meaning. And he said to me, have you read The Secret? And I said, look, Phil, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't read. Like, it's not something that I'm into. I don't read. And he's like, look, I'm going to send it to you. Just read it. I was like, Phil, you can send it. I'm not reading it. I'm not interested. Anyway, next day, an Amazon parcel arrives. And as I say, I remember taking it, ripping it open, seeing on the front The Secret, and I just put it down, forgot about it. Went about my day. As I said, what I suppose is what we would refer to as depression. That was the state I was in at that time. And I remember waking up the next morning, coming downstairs, and where I'd left it on the side of the table, I don't know what had happened. I don't know if it was wind. I don't know if it was whatever. It had fell on the floor.
Oh, wow.
So I picked up the book. I opened the first page. Just I was like, all right, fine. Let me see what this book's about. Open the first page. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Second page. Third. 2 days. I read the book twice within 2 days.
Wow.
And that, as we talk about as a pivotal moment, was my real shift, was my real transformation to ultimately the man that sits here in front of you today. Because although I'd say years later, I don't agree with every single point of that book, the pivotal moment for me was in the reading of that book and the realization that everything that I could ever wish for, become, achieve, have, do, is all up here. It is all already within me. It's just a case of how I bring that out. And as I say, from that feeling of depression, low, sadness, guilt, upset, grief for the weeks before that I was just sitting in and didn't see a way out of, within 2 days, it was a shift for me. And when we talk about pivotal moments, that was it for me, because as I say, since then it has been a never-ending growth process for me of learning, giving. How can I become more to then share that with others? How can I develop my mindset more? How can I develop my passion, my love, my growth more to then give that to others? And that was the real pivotal moment for me, them 5 days.
Wow. You know, it is so interesting that you say that that you told me that the secret was a big part of your pivot. That was a big part of mine. It was a big part of mine.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot to thank Rhonda Byrne for. I really do.
Wow. So if you can think back to it, because and I'm in the same boat as you. There's just a few things that I don't see eye to eye with in that book now. Now that I've grown, learned, applied, adjusted, adapted, pivoted again, because I believe pivotal moments are all around us if we really, really, really look at it. What was your biggest takeaway besides that? Yes, everything that you can be is in your mind. But was there something in that book that just really, really stuck out to you and kind of punched you in the jaw?
The big thing that still resonates with me today is it touches on seeing yourself as a human transmission tower. And essentially the frequency that you put out is the frequency that you'll radiate, is the frequency that will come back in. And I really refer back to this a lot to this day, and it's the one thing that has always stuck with me in terms of as a human transmission tower. I know that what I will put out there I'm not necessarily looking to receive that back, but I know that I'll vibrate on that frequency. And if I can vibrate on that frequency, I will experience that. If I can put out such a joyous love and passion and giving to people, that will be nothing apart from what I feel within me. So when I understand that the world works inside out, not outside in. Right. And then from that, I can influence out there as opposed to being reactive to what's going on out there. If that makes sense. So that would be the one thing that still sticks with me to this day.
Man, that's beautiful, because I see eye to eye with you on that. And probably because I read the book too, and it's part of my pivotal moment as well. But that is such truth, and it's so good to remember and embody in this day when we're thinking about the people that are around us, the things that we allow to come into our life, the things that we put out into the universe for us to circle back around to us. That is all coming from within of us being a human transmission tower. I absolutely love that you use that. Go ahead, bro.
Absolutely. And I think especially like in times at the moment, for example, what we've all faced with in the last 2 years, I think life is uncertain. Life is ever changing. Life is ever growing, and it's constantly shifting out there. And I think if you try and grab hold of that, that's where we can feel anxiety, stress, and a little bit of apprehensiveness and things like that, because we're trying to control something that we will never have full control of. When we understand that we can take control of this being, of this mind, of our emotions, our feelings, our thoughts, that then you put yourself in such control that no matter what goes on out there, you can pivot, you can adapt, you can be in such a strong and stable, secure, certain mind frame and mind state that no matter what goes on out there, yes, of course, there's days I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel stressed, but I understand that as long as I align in here, then I can influence what I experience out there.
You are absolutely right, which kind of triggered something in me. So I wonder, when you wake up in the morning, what does your morning routine look like to prepare that mindset, to prepare to be the love, the light, human transmission tower that you are? What do you do in the mornings to prepare for that?
Well, don't ask me this morning because I accidentally slept through my alarm this morning, and my partner wasn't best pleased. She wasn't best pleased because she was going to get up as well. But no, I mean, for me, it's a constant conditioning process. It's a constant conditioning process, and what I mean by that is, for anyone listening of yourself who goes down the gym, you don't do, for example, one bicep curl and have a big bicep for life. Like, you don't have a strong bicep for life.
No.
And for me, exactly, it's the same with the mind. It's a constant conditioning process of every day putting myself in a position, and every morning putting myself in a position that ultimately triggers what a peak mind state is for me. Now, usually there's certain patterns that I run, and I'm like everyone else. Sometimes I may come off that and things like that, and I need to realign. But generally speaking, there's certain things that I will do every single time. I'll get my big rocks out the way early does. I'll do certain things every morning that set my day up that I think, you know what, let's get ready to go. I'll be honest, I'm speaking about this, my partner is a great example of this, because I can talk about myself, but I see what she does as well, and how she uses her own mind state. For her, yoga is such a powerful tool that this is something that she used to anchor her own state. So every morning she'll get up and she'll do a minimum of 30-45 minutes of yoga to start her day without fail. And that'll be something that conditions a peak mindset for her. It'll be something that conditions her mind state ready to attack the day.
Right.
And I think it's so powerful that I can sit here and say, you should do this. You could do cold water immersion. You should breathe, you should meditate. You should do all these great things. But I think the important thing is that we all find something within us that triggers that feeling of a peak mindset within you. Now, for some people, that might be a walk with the dog. For other people, that might be a cold shower. For other people, that might be reading. It might be yoga. It might be whatever. But that would be a key takeaway, that I think everyone needs to find their trigger for that peak mindset. What puts you in a place in your mind where you feel unstoppable, where you feel like you can go and attack that day and conquer whatever it is that's coming in front of you? Because I think from that, we become so resourceful, not on outside tools, i.e. using this person, using that person, using these different resources, but using our internal emotions and states to be able to influence a drive in us that really commits to what we want to achieve.
That's so good. That's good. That's gold, because if we don't start at that peak mindset, how are we going to operate from highest self? How are we going to operate from that moment, you know? Man, last question I have for you, and I'm going to let you go. But when you start the day in peak mindset, you start the day at highest form of self, at truest self, as we could say. And how do you protect that as the day goes on, as you need reset, as the world starts to, you know, catch on fire a little bit? How do you protect that peak mindset? How do you get back up there?
My personal view on this is I wouldn't personally use the language of protect, because if I feel like I'm protecting, I feel like I'm holding in, I'm withdrawing, and I'm trying to shield. Now, that's just my personal view, because I wouldn't use the word protect it. Now, I know exactly sort of what you sort of mean, because there's outside influences, there's people who may act in a way that you don't agree with, there's a circumstance that comes up, there's something that happens that you didn't foresee, and how do you then stay conditioned in that peak mindset to then realign and sort of drive? For me, I have certain anchors. I have certain things that I will do that I believe resets me. So, for example, I'll always, as I say, start my day on what I call the front foot. I'll start my day in a peak mindset and things like that. And now, for example, I might be working and I get this message through that is something that disrupts my day. You need to do this, you need to do that, and everything else. Now, the trigger for me personally is the moment I find myself shifting from a peak mindset. That is my trigger to realign. Now, what I mean by that is the standard that I want to hold for myself. I want to live every day in a peak mindset. That's what I like to call it. Now, the moment I start to feel what I said to you before, those feelings of stress, anger, disappointment, whatever it may be, guilt, whatever it may be, it will be a snapping process for me to go, whoa, bring yourself back to this level, put yourself back up there. Now look at that issue, whatever it may be. And then from that, I don't feel like I'm sort of, as I say, protecting anything, but I have a constant radar, if you like, on my mind that I know what a peak mindset is to me. I know what it is. I've wrote pages and pages about what that looks like to me.
Right.
And I know what that is now deep within me. And I also know if I'm not vibrating at that. And then the moment I recognize that, it, not I'll deal with that after this call, or I'll deal with that a bit later on this evening, or tomorrow's a new day. The moment I feel like that, boom, I'll remove myself from the situation. I'll take myself away. I'll realign that peak mindset of how I know to trigger that back in, and then I'll attack whatever it may be. And I hope that makes sense. And as I say, like, that's the way that I do it, because I don't think, in my opinion, if I'm protecting, I can't be giving. If I'm protecting my own mindset, I can't be impacting as wholly and as much as I want, because you can't shield and attack at the same time.
Right.
So that's the reason I don't use the word protecting personally, because if I'm protecting back here, then I can't go and attack that, whatever it may be. So that would be the only reason I don't use that language.
Right. And I definitely see your standpoint on that. If you're standing in a position of attack, of getting ready to conquer the day, you know what I mean? You don't want to go in with a shielded mindset or a protective mindset. You want to go into the world with a giving mindset.
Exactly.
That's why I posed the question of, when the world attacks you, we got to protect. We got to protect, you know?
Exactly. And that's what I mean, that for me, when that happens, we can't control what happens out there.
Right.
But the moment that comes in, the moment that infiltrates what we said before, this human transmission tower, and I feel myself going down that I'm being attacked type mode, if you like, that fight or flight type mode, I'll withdraw myself, I'll take myself out, and then I'll realign and then come back.
Look at it from the outside in. I love it.
Exactly.
And you kind of look at it like meditation. You know, as we meditate, we focus on the breathing, and the moment that our mind goes somewhere else other than our breathing, we have to restart. That is true meditation. So I like the way that you do that with your mind. In the moment, or you want to get to that point of the moment that it goes away, it's like, okay, now we got to restart. You know what I mean? And it's not even a restart or a realign. I love what you said there.
And you made a great point there, and that's what it is. It's like a meditative practice. That a meditation is a single point of focus, and that's what I like to sort of create within here, a single point of focus of a peak mindset. And like what you just said there with meditation, the moment your mind starts to drift out there, you realign, you come back. And it's exactly the same what I do day to day. The moment I feel that peak mindset wavering, boom, I'll grab it, I'll bring myself back in, and I'll realign.
I love that.